Her intervention was supposed to be after Camelia's, so I will talk for her, okay? She is the head of international relations from county, Argeș region, okay?
Congratulations for this project. The local authorities is always close to university and to Youth and Future Association for the project for the youth especially. And I apologize because I cannot stay. I have a meeting this 1 o'clock.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, my colleague Camelia Mana, who is a teacher also here at the university, at the Faculty of Education, she has participated in my workshop for adults for the manual. And also she had a course with adults and teachers at the university, and she applied the methodology. She would like to share with you her experience, and also she has 3 of her students with her, or 4 with Mr. Pitesti. 4 students, 4 adult students here.
Hi everybody, I'm Camelia. I was just experimenting. I'm trying to explain you what the adult courses with Montessori meant for us. First, I'm trying to ask you to imagine you are all students and the teacher. It was what I felt when I entered the classroom. I'm the teacher here, and everybody in the classroom was adult. In fact, they were my colleagues. They were my colleagues in university. We started a project trying to teach foreign languages for our colleagues in different departments, biology or electronics or physics, chemistry, and we want, after 2-year courses, to make them feel they are teachers of foreign languages and they teach their own subject in English. That was what I wanted to do. And of course, it was difficult. I'm going to be Montessori now, so I'm sitting here. I don't speak loudly normally. So you'll have to make efforts to understand and to listen to me. Traditionally, we have classes like this. We use workbooks. We have many pairs of eyes looking at us or not looking, because not everybody has the same motivation. So my experience with the Montessori method started actually in February, when Carmen asked me and some of my students to come in a workshop, and I was so enthusiastic. I discovered this is something new, really. This I discovered we lived in a topsy-turvy world in a way, because our classes really are teacher-centered, and teachers expect students to look at them all the time and to say, "Oh yes, teacher, you are right. Everything you say is all right." Well, it may happen in a reverse way. The student is the center of the classroom. So my problem started with 2 questions. The first question was, what did Maria Montessori think about adult education? Because we know her method applies to children, precisely to small children. And the next question was about the adults themselves. And I found an answer answer on the internet. In this picture, you can see a lady who is 97, and she is trying to learn a foreign language. Imagine, 97. So, this is an idea about what we can do, no matter what age we are, no matter what we think about things. Most of the times, things come to us. We need to have that open-mindedness and to receive what we are given at a certain moment. So that was the Montessori for me. And I found my small answers for the beginning, and the answer, the first one, was an explanation about the psychological development with children and their transformation, and again developing for the rest of their lifetime. We know that we develop psychologically and intellectually in cycles of 6 years. 0 to 6-year-old, 6-year-old to 12-year-old. In the first period of our life, we are centered on discovering ourselves, discovering our own self. And between 6 and 12, a child opens to the world outside, and stimuli come from the outside. And all these cycles turn and continue with each other for the rest of our lives. So we are opened to receive from the outside, but we are also open to remove what we have within us and give to the others. Probably this is a gift for teachers too. And Montessori taught me that if I am a teacher, I have to discover the gifts within myself. And when I was talking with my students who were teachers also, I wanted to make them understand they first need to discover the gifts within themselves. Most of my adult students said, "Oh, it's so difficult. I have so many spelling problems. I cannot pronunciate the sounds like you or like those teachers we hear in the tape recorder." And I told them, "Oh, that's not a problem, because this has to come naturally. If you impose yourself to do something, you don't have good effects. A good effect is when you discover the gifts within yourselves, and your spelling and your pronunciation goes well in a natural way." So I found a few explanations, but that was not well. We started to improve our activity. Basically, I had two groups of students. One of them was pre-intermediate, and the other was intermediate. And I had a huge surprise at one moment that the pre-intermediate attended also the intermediate classes. And the intermediate came with the pre-intermediate because they said, there are things I can learn here too. And some students from other groups came with my group. I have to confess that we don't have that typical classroom as the Montessori method would require. This was a difficulty, but we could cope with difficulties. Can we continue? I I tried to understand the Montessori system, and I tried to explain that to my students. And that was the next step. First step was when I met Carmen, and after that we talked to each other as teachers. And she said, well, Amelia, you could apply this method with your adult students. And I said, oh yes, what a good idea. And we tried to apply this method. I asked my students if they agree. And that was a new difficulty because, you see, we have traditional materials. We use traditional materials in our classrooms. Or the Montessori method implied something totally different. I didn't tell them anything about this, so they were not prepared. I only had this projection of the Montessori system like a solar system, like something in the middle of the system, being like our sun. It means the grouping, the students, the group of learners, and many other spots that were the nebula for all of us. Because sometimes there are questions to answer. Sometimes there is the problem of materials. What kind of materials should I use? Sometimes it's the problem with their interaction at home, with parents, with children. I had students, they were teachers, they had children at home. Some of them said, well, we had to do homework at home. And some of them told me, Carmen, I asked my daughter to help me for this exercise because it was too difficult for me. And that was different. So Montessori had to overcome with these problems and to solve a lot of problems. And I don't have so much time to explain. I'm just trying to make a projection about what are the challenges for a teacher when trying to apply the Montessori method and for a student when trying to learn Montessori. And it was a matter of questioning what education is. What is education for a teacher? There are challenges for teachers. There are a lot of challenges for teachers. One of them with the Montessori method is how to engage adults in this kind of education, because they have to think of things they've never thought about before. Another one is you cannot change a student or a teacher. You have to adapt your method to their needs. The Montessori principles are good, are very good with young learners. And the problem was how to try to apply the methods we used with children for adult students. And it was a problem because we needed to start from somewhere. For instance, adults, just like children, like to have fun. And we tried to transfer this type of knowledge. Adults sometimes feel like using hand-ons. Like this one, I don't have many, but this one. If I asked you, how are you feeling today? What would you say? Maybe you can find this inspirational. Maybe it could help you. I'm not sure. It's just a support. So we had to try to cope with our feelings. How? Sometimes in a funny way, sometimes in a serious way. This is the Montessori method for everybody. Anyway, if I asked you now, how are you feeling? What was your answer? How are you feeling? Don't think too much, just answer the question. Bored, embarrassed, tired, maybe you need a break.
Later on will come. I'm just telling my sincere feeling.
To shape honesty with the others.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So the Montessori method is to try to be honest to yourself, first of all. That is a problem with adults. They cannot be honest. And they have to start Montessori with themselves, trying to be honest to themselves. So now we are going to the next step. I talked about it's back. I talked about the challenges for teachers. Now we are trying to talk about challenges for a student who is an adult learner. And what are the challenges? You are the students. We started our class pretending that I'm a teacher and you are the students. What do you think? What are the challenges for an adult student in Montessori? Anyway, we can be Montessori and we can be quiet for 30 seconds. And after that, we try to interact.
The adult is too free. Too much? Free. Free to do whatever he wants.
Perhaps it's not clear the question. Would you reformulate the question in another way?
What are the challenges for a student, an adult student, in a Montessori class?
It's difficult from my point of view, to answer the question because a student doesn't know what you mean. Me as a student, I'm spoiled by everything, of course, but as a student, I couldn't answer because you have already stressed me as a student, because you are asking me something I'm not able to answer, because I'm a student. I don't mind which methodology you apply, just I want to learn. That's it.
Your answer is what Carmen said. Montessori is free. There is
Yes
no
or no?
stress.
Yes or
There's
no?
no stress.
We should discuss about that.
That's the first rule.
It's yes or no.
Well, I think now what you did, because we had also this discussion in Poland, it's a question of some expert, because from your point of view, you had the experience, you were a teacher, you tried it with your learners. So you're a kind of a little expert with us here. You know something more than. And this is a question of somebody that knows to people that don't know. So it's not a real relationship teacher
No,
to learn.
I'm just experimenting. It's,
Yeah, I know. I just tell you
I'm
because
trying
we had
to
exactly the
discover
same.
what the real you are, because I don't know you. And it's a problem here. We have to find that level of understanding, and that level has to be the same. Traditionally, the teacher was somewhere here, and students were, and we had to obey rules like this one. The teacher spoke from this level because there was an audience, and he had to spread all the information in the classroom. So Montessori is different. And the teacher doesn't talk all the time. My challenge now was to make you talk. You have to speak. If you are students, you have to try to express yourselves. Be honest to yourselves.
I agree with you. The problem here is that there is not a suitable environment.
That's
the way
true.
we sit, the way we are, we have
Yes.
established relationship.
Yes.
We are the and they are the people that
So
listen.
we are conditioned. That's
We are conditioned.
another idea.
So your thing would be different if we have, for example, tables with.
We are
and you would
conditioned
distribute
by
this.
many social constraints. So if we are Montessori, we have to apply different rules. We have to delete what we knew before and start something else. Okay, I'm not going to talk any longer because we were supposed to be here, the teacher and two of my students, Daniela Borbuceanu, and she's also my colleague. She's a teacher of biology. She is very passionate about what she's doing. They are doing research
Student to an English course. I want to say just a few words about my experience, and I confess, like my friends and colleagues and teacher, that I had a first contact with the Montessori methods recently due to Professor Carmen Nicolescu and my friends. And I conquers me this natural way to learning new things at an English course. It is a method recommended especially to the education of the preschool and school children, but I try to use the elements of this method in my activity with the students, biology students, and of course as a parent in the education of my children. My opinion about the Montessori method, it is this method see every person as a unique human, and this is in accordance with my belief that each individual's animal or plant is unique in nature. This means that we must respect everything around us, and my students in their activity, in our activities, are encouraged to see in this way the world we are living in. Our activities, practical activities, in special to zoology. I'm a zoologist and I teach zoology. My students are stimulated to observe independently the animal species and correlation between the species and their environment, and in order to create a more relaxing atmosphere in the classroom, they listen to classical music. 2 years ago, I introduced this method. I feel, in a way, Montessori method. And I hope that my students, when will become teachers and when understand and if understand Montessori method, use it with their future school children as teacher, and that is my experience about Montessori method.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you speak very well English after studying, improving the method, Camelia, with Montessori principles. So
If you understand me, I'm happy.
we did. We did. Now, I think Camelia, you have finished. Mrs. Pescaru, she would like to say something. Not really. In Romanian, because I will translate. Because another adult learner, 1, 2, 3 words, and nu știu, penultimul slide. Da, concluzia. Montessori, la mine. La noi, da. Nu are. Bine, o să... Da, da. Deci, la conferința finală, vezi penultimul la definiția foarte bună.
Tema proiectului mi s-a părut deosebit de interesant.
Only 5, maximum 10 minutes and we will close the conference. I know it was a conference without break, but it was very difficult. We were too many. If I suppose that so many teachers would confirm their participation, maybe we would have looked for another room, but you know, it was a big surprise and a very pleasant surprise for me. So I'm happy anyway to be all here. I hope it was instructive and new for all of us. Now I would like to hear one opinion from one adult learner. My colleague also, who is studying also English.
Cunoșteam despre metoda Montessori aplicată la elevii din învățământul primar și preșcolar. Și mi s-a părut deosebit de interesant această abordare a metodei Montessori și în învățarea la adulți.
I knew about this about applying this methodology in education of children, and I was very curious about how the project intended to apply it on adults.
De aceea, tema proiectului mi s-a părut deosebit de interesantă, dar în același timp și incitantă, analizând sub două aspecte, atât în calitate de adult care învață limba engleză, dar și în calitate de cadru didactic.
I heard about this project and I found the idea very exciting and very interesting under two aspects. One as an adult learner who was studying English, and also from the point of view of a teacher, of a methodology for education.
Am participat la prima conferință de deschidere a proiectului organizată de către doamna Nicolescu.
I have participated also at the dissemination process and also at the workshop,
care ne-a prezentat în mare etapele derulării proiectului și În ce constă metoda Montessori aplicată la adulți?
And she was participating in my workshop and had found out also about the different phases of the project, the outcomes, and also how this methodology was conceived by Maria Montessori and was applied by us through the manual for the language studies.
Cred că a fost o întâlnire deosebit de interesantă pentru că a dat posibilitatea atât celor care învățau limba engleză, dar și profesorilor care au participat la conferință din învățământul preuniversitar, cât și universitar, să-și expună anumite păreri, anumite opinii și să disemineze mai departe aplicarea acestei metode, da? În învățarea limbilor străine.
Mrs. Pescaru mentioned that she was very excited also about exchanging of opinion and ideas between all of us who were present in that workshop, because there were teachers from many levels, from the pre-university teaching schools, and also from the university, and we had the possibility to exchange many ideas regarding this methodology and how it could be applied in different teaching classes.
Apoi, în cadrul cursurilor de limba engleză organizate de către universitate și având ca și profesor pe doamna Camelia Manea, am aplicat într-adevăr această metodă Montessori, accesând diverse procedee de învățare în acest sens.
And they have also applied this methodology in their teaching classes with Mrs. Camelia Mana, who used many exercises as suggested by the manual, but also we have discussed, both of us, and choose some exercises to eliminate some causes of stress of our adults.
Da, am fost deosebit de încântați și cursurile, într-adevăr, au fost mult mai interactive și mai interesante decât aplicând metodele tradiționale.
We have been very excited, and we have now another idea about how to teach or how to learn without having traditional constraints. And yes, excuse me.
Oarecum am avut posibilitatea să reflectez în a aplica metoda Montessori și în cadrul cursurilor mele de sociologie. M-am regăsit aplicând metoda Montessori fără să vreau, pur și simplu din ceea ce făceam, pentru că foarte multe din lecțiile pe care le susțineam, cursurile pe care le susțineam erau experimentale. Studenții aplicau chestionare, anchete sociale, le interpretau, după aceea le analizam împreună. Deci, oarecum și am observat că le trezesc mai mult interesul în acest sens și cursurile devin mult mai interactive, mai interesante și mai atractive pentru ei.
And Mrs. Pescaru was very surprised to find herself applying this methodology in teaching sociology, right? And she was giving her students ideas about how applying some questionnaires or some
Metode de cercetare.
applying some research methods, and she found out that her students were very excited also about this manner of working with them. Okay, putting them to asking them to discover some paths to be followed in research. Okay. That was it. Yes.
I have a question to what you have said, because
Yes.
I am representing the higher education institution from Poland, and of course we were involved in all these processes here when it comes to the foreign language teaching, but we are also thinking how to apply these methods, these approaches to the other subjects, and that's what actually we're talking about, how to apply the methods to the sociology courses. Are you able to give some concrete examples? How did you manage to use this method during your classes? I don't know if you have changed the chairs and tables, or how you tried to have this contact, you know, to let yourself being more as a, not that much involving in the work of the students. So some examples.
Zice că dacă puteți să dați câteva exemple de ce ați folosit din metoda Montessori, felul de aranjare al mediului, că și ei sunt interesați pentru că...
Mai mult m-am bazat pe, cum să zic, lucrul elevilor, iar eu doar îi coordonam în cercetările sociologice. Da. Deci, de exemplu, ne propuneam să studiem o temă, tema migrației, de exemplu, sau tema copiilor ai căror părinți plecau la lucru în străinătate, cum se descurcau ei cu școala, cum erau ei din punct de vedere al abilităților educative, cine avea grijă de ei și așa mai departe. Ne stabileam de comun acord cu studenții întrebările din chestionarul respectiv, stabileam metodele de cercetare, stabileam obiectivele, ipotezele de lucru împreună, după care aplicam chestionarele. Eu doar coordonam această activitate. Aplicam chestionarele, le centralizam, interpretam datele și stabiliam dacă aceste ipoteze sunt verificate sau nu sunt verificate. Deci, rolul meu era numai de coordonator. În schimb, toată bucătăria aceasta și cercetările sociologice, cred eu că se bazează numai pe această metodă Montessori, pentru că profesorul foarte puțin se implică. Doar de reperele științifice îi ajută să stabilească obiectivele, ipotezele, în rest, toată munca ei o efectuează sub coordonarea noastră.
She was using mostly the self-directed learning, not especially the environment or something like that, because in sociology they were establishing objectives, aims, methodology all together, not given by the teacher. She is making parallels with traditional, teaching, when teacher gives everything and students only should apply. No, they were all choosing which things were of maximum interest, also which methodology they could apply to solve these objectives, and the students were doing the whole work. She was feeling like a teacher as an observer, but it is not really observer, because it is directing something, but it is not over-directing, let's say.
Deci, metodele care se folosesc în sociologie sunt observația științifică, aplicarea unui interviu, ancheta sociologică, toate se bazează pe lucrul elevului, iar profesorul este numai cel care coordonează și care are grijă de aspectul științific al cercetărilor respective.
Da.
Asta e.
Thank you very much. was a hard day altogether. I would like you to keep in mind our conclusion from our workshop here in Romania. We set up at the end of the workshop that Montessori methodology in language training means eliminating stress through self-directed learning into one suitable environment with a teacher as an observer, not a lecturer. So we said this is the essence of this methodology for us. We have perceived like this, and I think I don't know if you agree also, but this is our Montessorian idea. So we are saying this. No, nothing. Okay.
We are happy.
Yes, we are happy. And if you have questions, if you want to interact in particular with the partners, please feel free to do whatever you would like to do and whatever you want to know. And for the teachers who are taking part in the workshops, we should meet all in here.